What's going on? Happy Saturday evening to you all. Welcome to Let's Talk Dallas Cowboys here on the Let's Talk Sports Network Flow. How
What's
you
up?
doing, man? How's it been? How you doing?
Oh, making it. Surviving. Trying to get settled in here in my new abode here in El Paso, next to Fort Bliss. So, just trying to get settled in here. A few glitches here and there, but overall, not pretty good. Waiting on my Red Raiders to play this evening.
Yeah,
But
I believe
overall,
they got one of the newer teams
BYU,
coming
I
up.
believe.
BYU today. Oklahoma barely beat Central Florida. And speaking of new teams, Houston and Texas are playing right now, tied at 21. So
yeah,
interesting day for all the newbies today.
yeah. Hopefully, we don't have any problems with the new team.
We got Mr. First Down here quoting LA Knight. Let me talk to you. How you doing, Sam?
What's up, Sam?
And of course, the fourth newcomer actually lost today. Cincinnati lost to Baylor 32-29, I believe. So,
okay.
So,
and that's a team I thought would be a little better, but I guess it's either BYU or maybe UCF. I don't know. Be the best.
Speaking of which, if you like college football content here, we have a new show on Saturday mornings now with a lot of college football talk. It's kind of like the Let's Talk Sports show on the Sundays when they do NFL talk, but we do it for college football. It's myself, Big Mike. We had Scott Cobe on this morning. We'll be having a couple others as well as we get onto it. So it's been in the works for a while, but we finally got it on board today. So yeah.
All right.
He says Vols are stinking it up. So
yeah. Oh, the Vols are stinking it up. I was
yeah.
talking about what you said, not about the Vols.
Yeah. The Vols are stinking it up. Unfortunately, they're playing Alabama.
Oh, okay.
But they had a 20-7 lead. Now it's 24-20 Alabama. So,
man, Alabama's been struggling though on offense, but they still managed to pull out some of these games. So,
yeah. Unfortunately, Sam, this isn't the baseball show, so we're not going to talk Texas Rangers tonight. Even though there's a lot to talk about as far as that.
Yeah.
What happened last night?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, Abreu did get suspended for 2 games, but that whole
I missed part of that. What did you get?
Not Jose Abreu, but their relief pitcher Abreu. He pelted Garcia after Garcia had a 2-run homer.
Oh, he pelted him after that?
He pelted him the next at bat.
Oh, okay. I missed that one. I saw the homer.
Yeah, but then Altuve hit a 3-run homer to take the lead.
It's not like they need him for the next game, though. They may not need him until Game 7.
Yeah. Well, then here's the thing. The home team has lost every game in this series. So
let's hope that continues.
I mean, yeah. Let's hope this is the 2019 World Series all over again.
Let's hope so. Yeah.
But yeah, we're not going to talk some baseball in this show. Yeah. Last night was not so chill. Yeah. They got into a brawl last night in that little scuffle. So that's what led to Abreu getting ejected, and Dusty Baker got ejected as well.
Yeah.
And Astro fans are not happy about it. They have not been happy about it since.
Yeah. I guess it's okay to throw a little baseball since there's no game this week.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
So we just wrapping up Chargers. I didn't see it.
Yeah, we got to recap Monday night's game against the Chargers. It was actually a low scoring game compared to what we originally thought. All of us thought it was going to be a high-scoring game because you had 2 dynamic offenses going at it, or at least on the Charger side of things, they were supposed to be a dynamic offense. I don't know what the hell happened with Justin Herbert in that game, but defense was the name of the game. Defense was the name of the game on both sides in this matchup. Chargers defense, this is probably their best performance in like 2 years. And they still lost. But Cowboys defense, it took them a while in this game. They finally woke up a little bit. Yeah. Micah got the sack on the second to last play. They got the interception to seal it.
And they played fairly well, except for getting to the quarterback. Other than that, they were playing pretty decent.
I mean, they were getting after Herbert all night. He didn't get sacked.
As far as actually sacking him, but
Yeah. As far as sacking him, they didn't get him on the ground, but they got enough pressure in his face to really affect how he was throwing, all night long in that.
Right.
Now, tall order for him this
Right.
week. They got to turn around and play Patty Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs this week. So,
And for whatever reason, they always play them tough. Maybe it's a divisional thing, but they seem to always play the Chiefs really tough. Even when they lose, even when they win, they seem to always play them close for some reason.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always an interesting, but it's like us with Philadelphia. Anytime it's us two, we always play each other really, really tough, no matter how good one is compared to the other. So,
right. I mean, you do have the rare occasional blowouts, but more than double-digit wins, but it's rare.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Washington Philly was a couple weeks ago. That's kind of what these games are. So
right.
But yeah, what are some of the things you saw from Monday night that were positives coming out of this game?
Positives, I guess the main one, I guess I could say is Dak played more like what I want Dak to play like. Mm-hmm. He used his legs. If you look at all his big plays, came him scrambling, or doing that run, riding the side where he pulls it or leaves it. Or he was rolling out and he threw a couple of plays where he kind of rolled and scrambled to his right, I believe, and he threw it to Pollard. But all of his big plays, he was on the move, and I think that's something. I don't know. The coaching staff doesn't see that. I know they talked about they like that he ran a little bit and he ran well, but that's not something they want to do a lot or whatever. But I don't know why they want to shy away from that. Maybe they don't want to get him injured or whatever, but man, he plays so much better when he's on the move. And that's the best positive for me is that he just play, Dak, play the way you play, run if you need to run, and don't worry about, what the coaches say, for real. I mean, to be honest, this is your team for the most part. I mean, are they more likely to get rid of the head coach or Dak? Probably the head coach. That's just how Jerry is, He takes care of the players, and Dak's one of his guys, and he supported him. And I mean, at some point, Jerry Jones would get rid of you, even like he did Dez. But for the most part, he backs you, the players, pretty much. And I just think Dak needs to just play it more like he's used to. I think if he tries to play too much in the pocket, he doesn't play as well because that's not who he is. He has to be on the move. He needs to be running, scrambling, all that kind of stuff is just part of what his game is. And I've said that since the beginning, and most people haven't said that until the last year or so, talking about him moving. I mean, talking about these big networks, they don't really say anything. They haven't really said that. And or they've said that, he can't move anymore. I think he can move. He just decides not to, or the coaching staff don't want him to, whatever the case may be. But when he moves, it's so much better. He plays so much better.
Mm-hmm. And again, we saw it Monday night. The 18-yard run for a touchdown off the right. counter. You saw it. In some of the big plays. You kind of alluded to the Pollard 60-yard catch and run late in that game. That was coming off of Dak bootleg.
Even if he doesn't, break that tackle, it's still a good play, and it still probably gets him a first down or whatever. But I'm just saying, just those on the move plays is where he plays his best, and where. Even if he and then he plays well in the pocket, because you limit those pocket plays. He's just not that kind of guy. That's just not who he is. Being 75-80% in the pocket, he needs to be 75% on the move or scrambling. That's just who he is. He just plays better. He just plays better when he does that. And then the play action comes into play if you can get the run game going. I think that's one of the negatives, but the positive for sure was Dak. And I did like McCarthy's play calling a little better. Everybody.
It was a little better this week. There were some certain calls that he made were just like, wait, why are you doing it there?
Right.
But
in the end zone at the end of the half. But
to Sam's point, 90% of the people are going to blame Mike McCarthy for whatever hardships the Cowboys face at this point in time.
Yeah,
so
probably. But to be honest, Dan Quinn needs some of that blame. After they lost Diggs, his defense has been up and down, and for whatever reason he hasn't schemed it up correctly. His defense has struggled, so he deserves some of the blame for the struggles that we've had at times, especially in the losses. His defense has not shown up.
And we kind of alluded to that this morning on the college show. with Georgia and how they've lost Brock Bowers and how are they going to play now on offense?
Right.
It's like how has one guy changed that dynamic so much? And that was the question we asked: is how is Diggs not being on the defense change the dynamic of the defense so much where the other guys are struggling?
Yeah. I think
it's the fact that Diggs is so good in coverage, and he's one of those guys that can, when he recognizes and he reads a play well, he can get up and make a play.
Right. And people always say that, that he gets caught in the double moves. Yeah, maybe his second year, but he wasn't really getting caught that much. And he does gamble a lot on some of those, but he usually wins most of the time when he gambles on some of those passes, But for the most part, yeah, like you said, Diggs just makes the right play. He reads the play well, and he also covers extremely well. And so when you lose a guy, I guess, of that caliber, I mean, there's no way, there's nothing. You have to make adjustments, and I feel like Dan Quinn has struggled to make adjustments to maybe put a little more help on that side. On Bland's side or whoever Diggs used to be lined up, put a little more help over there, or depending on, who their top receiver is, just, give a little more help to that side. I don't know what he needs to do specifically. I just know that he struggled because I think he was comfortable with having Diggs on one side and then he started out, of course, having Gilmore on the other, and it was like almost like a, I don't know what the term, but it was a luxury, I guess is what I could say. But and then once Diggs went out, he just hasn't been able to adjust well, even though he did fairly well in the Chargers game. But for the most part, he struggled to be consistent with the defense as far as the scheme. They were scheming it up for whatever team.
And it's like Sam pointed out, is like some guys respond better when they're given a little bit more freedom to kind of do their own thing, not necessarily like evolve off of what play is called, but like, in Dak's case, use his legs a little bit more to get outside to make some plays down the field, or to, take off and run and get you some yards here and there. Or, a defense like for us, let Trayvon make that decision when he's up in coverage to go off his guy and make a play like that. So
yeah, exactly.
So that's what makes these guys stars in the league, is they're able to recognize and, decipher what plays are coming, what coverages they need to have, or what have you, and what adjustments they need to make in certain situations like that. So
for sure.
Yeah. And if you're holding them back, it's like, what are we supposed to do with that?
Right. Yeah. I just know. And they haven't. Remember I said that we should use Micah, maybe drop him back a few times, more of a traditional linebacker, a little more. But they haven't really seemed to do that. And that may be Jerry saying, no, we're not going to do that. So I don't know, because I know Jerry sticks his nose in different places in the coaching as far as how they're going to play certain players. But who knows if Dan Quinn's hands are tied, so to speak. But I just feel like they should, use Micah a little more like they used him his first year, just because Diggs is out, But they haven't seemed to really do that.
Because you look back at that year, Diggs was still kind of an unimproving commodity. He's coming off a rookie year. Nobody knew what he was going to be just yet. They wanted to get Surtain, but they ended up with Micah in their laps, and Micah had that big breakout year, and it kind of helped Diggs in a lot of ways. In that year. So
because that was the year that everybody said, oh, you can get Diggs with a double move, and he did get burned a few times, but I mean, overall he still played well, even though adjusting to his second year, having a great rookie year. He and then his third year even better. He was really having a good year, and
he's one of those guys that just gets better over time. It just gets better over time. It sucks that he went out this year, because I think he could have been even better. And yes, Sam, I do love you. You're awesome.
He's right. He's right. Yeah.
He's definitely right. Sam, when are we doing our wrestling show? By the way,
wrestling show.
I don't know if I've asked you that in a long while, but we'll have to wait and see how that happens. But
the wrestling show. Okay.
Who
should
knows?
be fun.
We're expanding here. I mean, Scott's going to do a golf
Wow.
show next spring.
Wow.
There's a lot of things we're going to be covering here on Let's Talk Sports. So definitely stay tuned. There's going to be a lot coming, folks.
Right.
A lot of great content coming. But yeah,
All right.
what were some negatives that you saw from this game, though?
Well, I mean, I listed a couple of them, but I guess the main thing is that our Pollard has not been what we thought he would be. Our run game has not been what we hoped it would be with Pollard as the as the I forget what you'd call him, but as your main horse,
as the feature back.
Right. Yeah. There's different words for it, but that wasn't the word. But that's basically what it is. Pollard has not been what you thought. He's more of, I think I mentioned it last week. He's more of the change-up guy. He's a guy that comes in behind, your lead guy. After he gets banged, after he goes in there and bangs around, and then you get a change of pace with Pollard. I just don't think Pollard is a RB1. I think he's just a complement guy. That's what he's showing, at least this year. And I don't know if Rico can fill that spot. I don't know if Lukey can do it. I don't know. Somebody needs to be that pound guy. Ground.
I mean, we could call Sam's Titans and see if we can get Derrick Henry.
I know that. I put that out there that they were looking to get rid of Derrick Henry, which I don't blame them. The way their season has gone. But what can you do?
That's to Sam's point. Pollard. One thing that Pollard struggled with even last year, which is part of the reason why Zeke was still. This is why people were asking, why is Zeke still on the roster when you have Tony Pollard? Because
Right.
Zeke is a good run blocker.
Right.
Tony's not. Pollard's not. Pollard's not a good run blocker.
Right.
He's average. He's an average run blocker at best.
But I think he's better. He's improved in that aspect of it. He has.
Sam's like take him.
Oh,
let's take him.
I'll take him. I mean, that's what we need is a guy like him. Even if he's not at his in his prime, even on the other side of his prime, we'll take Derrick Henry because I think that would be a good 1-2 punch. You get Derrick Henry to get those tough yards, those hard yards, in even around the goal line, even in pass protection, and then get Pollard just do the change of pace what he was doing with Zeke. I mean, that's really what we need right now. And that's one of the negatives, if I can look at a negative, is that our run game has not been what we expected coming into the season. Pollard looks healthy. Fortunately, he doesn't look like he's hampered by his injury. But at the same time, he hasn't been the guy, and the run game has not been what we have had wanted or expected coming into the season.
I mean, you saw it Saturday or Monday night. It was like, that pass he caught from Dak was probably the biggest play of the season for him so far.
Right. Yeah. And it was just kind of on a broken play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that one, was he the one that got thrown that one touchdown? And it was a little too far off or Dak threw it, and he was.
I think that was Dowdle. He had him. I thought
that was Pollard too, though. I could have.
I think it was Dowdle because he had him deep. He had him in the end zone, but he overshot him a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that you double check it. I think that was Pollard, but yeah, and I think if he would have, the route was the way whoever it was, or the way the route was run, I think if he would have cut it up inside and then outside a little more, I think that would have given him more room for Dak. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's my only disappointment is the run game for the most part, because if Dak has a strong run game, along with him using his legs, if he has a strong run game, then that helps his play action because he's really good at play action as well. That's one of his best pocket plays is when he's running the play action.
And to Sam's point here, that little catch and run Monday night could be the start of him maybe getting hot here in the later going, especially with the bye week coming. And you get the extra week of rest, and you actually go back home to play next week. So that could get Pollard going as far as
Yeah, and part of me hopes the Rams win this week, because if they lose, I feel like they'll be a little more desperate. But if they lose this week, then I feel like that gives us a chance. That they won't be as
they'll be a little lax if they win.
Yeah, a little less. Because if they go 3-4. They're a little more desperate to get a win, even though they're on the road. But if they're 4-3, they feel a little better, confident. They won't feel like, hey, they're desperate to get a win now. And so I'm hoping that they win and beat the Steelers this week, and that'll kind of
it'll be a tough matchup. It'll be a tough matchup.
Yeah, the Rams are a little better than everybody thought. Or actually, I'm in our show. I put out that the Rams are going to be better than people thought, and they're going to be fighting for that division. But everybody, almost nobody thought they would be doing that, and I thought they would be better. I thought, with a
I mean, it helps
Stafford,
when you have helps when you have a young rookie come out of nowhere like what Puka Nacua has done.
Well, yeah, and Tutu Atwell has done well and contributed here and there as well. And then now you have Cooper Kupp back. I just felt like they had enough on offense with a healthy Matt Stafford because he wasn't healthy last year.
And they have a run game now. They have a run game now with that. I can't remember the running back's name, but they have a run game now.
Yeah.
Kyron Williams, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and they hit on a few of the draft picks that they had. And I don't know. I just felt like they would come back and play well with a healthy Matt Stafford and then what they put around him. And they happened to hit on, like you said, Puka Nacua and a couple of those draft picks that they had this year. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, getting what's his name? The pass rusher.
Aaron Donald.
Yeah, Aaron Donald, sorry. Getting him back as well. It didn't hurt. Hasn't hurt. No.
And this right here, what Sam is talking about, this was my kind of negative, was the play calling as far as the run game is concerned. You mentioned that Pollard is not that every down guy. Then why the heck are they running him up the middle? Like if I'm using Tony Pollard, I'm running outside tackle runs. I'm running between tackle guard runs. I mean, that right side of the line is great at run blocking. I'm running behind Zach Martin every night, every play, every chance I get.
Right.
Especially if there's space. Like, I don't know why they're not doing more of that. All I see is them trying to run the ball up the middle, and you can't really do that with a small guy like Pollard.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think they felt like he would develop that. I guess he just maybe he will as the season goes on, because he did have a couple of good plays in the middle, but that he was able to get something when there was nothing. And so I just think maybe as the more he gets, I'm hoping that that as he gets, to run and he's able to see the holes, because sometimes he hits them too fast, or sometimes he's not patient enough running up the middle, and he tries to just get in there, and if he would just wait just a half a step, a hole might open up. If if he waited a little bit, I can't remember the Steelers guy. He was extremely patient in the middle. I can't remember his name right now, but I'm talking about
Jalen Warren.
No, the guy that held out for them, and then they ended up trading him.
Bell.
Yeah. I think Bell was one of those guys who in the middle was very patient, and he would just almost like just be like waiting a long time for everything to develop, and he ended up breaking through the middle a few times. I think if Pollard had a little more patience running up the middle, and it doesn't. I'm not saying about stopping, but just waiting half a step, maybe letting the blocking develop ahead of him. Sometimes he gets ahead of the blocking, and I think that's been his problem running in the middle for Pollard. And maybe
you really can't do that against the Rams, especially when 99's standing right there.
Right.
Especially,
you definitely run away from him. Don't run to his side for sure. But I just feel like Pollard. I'm hoping that he develops that part of his game. I don't think that was a strength of his game, and maybe it develops as it goes on. I don't know. But yeah, for sure, that the run game as a whole just hasn't been there for us.
See, I'm glad you mentioned the Steelers, because I think they're going through a similar thing that we went through last year with Najee and Jalen Warren, because Jalen Warren looks like the better back, but they still have Najee for like the short yardage and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's like Sam is saying here, off tackle pitches, stuff like that. Get him in open space, because that's why I think Pollard can do his damage the most.
Right. Yeah.
And we saw it. We saw it Monday night. Again, it was a botched play, but got him out in the middle in open space, and he was able to make a play.
Sure. Yeah. He can make that first guy miss like he did there, and then take off for a big run. And that's the thing, like you said, get him in open space. And maybe he develops that middle of the game. If not, we need to find the guy who can do that, whether it's Rico, whether it's Lukey, whoever it is. We need to find a guy who can get you some yards, running through the middle, who's got those instincts. It's an instinct, right? It's something that either you develop or that you have naturally running through the middle. Sometimes you got to wait for those blocks to open up. Sometimes you got to change it and cut back, on some of those blocks. Even if it's going to the left, maybe you got to cut it back to the right because that's where it's opening up. So some of that stuff is instinctual. Some of it is, you just have to learn, it's a learned skill, so to speak, but not everybody can do it. Not everybody can learn it. And not everybody has those instincts. So, yeah.
And then, of course, for me, there were two positives I saw coming out of this game. One, they finally got the ball to CeeDee Lamb often early on, and it made a big difference, for the offense going forward. Right. I mean, that second drive, the first three of the first 4 plays, I believe, went to CeeDee Lamb, and it set them up for that touchdown to tie the game. So, and it's good to see CeeDee Lamb get more involved.
Right. And then we can also take Cooks off the milk cartons because he actually made an appearance in the game.
I was gonna say that was my second good thing about this. The two guys we traded for made big plays in this game. Brandon Cooks got the touchdown catch to essentially give us the lead. And then the interception by Gilmore at the end to seal it.
Right. Right. Yeah, because I think Cooks had a couple of targets. I think he dropped a couple of them during the season.
I know Gallup Gallup has been struggling a lot.
Gallup's been struggling for sure, but Brandon Cooks, and then I don't know if they just seemed to get away from him or he just wasn't getting open enough. It just seemed like he disappeared, for long stretches of games, and wasn't even targeted sometimes. So, I just feel like he finally made a sign, and maybe he's finally getting that chemistry with Dak, and that's what I'm hoping, that it's a good sign, that it's not just a one-time thing. I'm hoping that it's a sign for the future, because we're going to need Cooks, through the rest of the season to really come through and give us a few big plays, even if a few touchdowns here and there. But we're going to need him. He had a big third down conversion too, where he went up high, and he ran a good route, and then Dak kind of threw it up high, and he went up and got it. And so, maybe this is a good sign for him for the season coming, for the rest of the season for Cooks. I'm hoping.
Mm-hmm. And also start to get Ferguson back into the offense too. I know he had a couple catches Monday night, but don't just try to force feed it to 88 all the time. It doesn't always end up well, but it did end up well in this case because Lamb got open a lot. But
I think like most wide receivers or number one wide receivers, well, like many of them, I won't say most, but like many of them, I think CeeDee Lamb is one of those guys you got to get him involved early, or he tends to just kind of disappear, almost Dez-like. If you don't get him involved, he won't go over there and complain and yell and scream. He'll just kind of disappear on his own. He's not a boisterous guy, a loud guy, a big over the top guy as far as just hooting and hollering. And so I think CeeDee Lamb, even if you don't force feed him, as long as you get him involved early, I think that's a key to CeeDee Lamb. It seems like get him involved early, get him a couple of early touches, and that keeps him involved in the game. And I think sometimes he tends to fade if he doesn't get involved early in the game.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people were saying use him on the outside a little bit more. To get him on those mismatches on the outside, but he does a lot of his damage in the slot. It's not that Gallup didn't do bad in this game. There was just a lot of catches that he had that he should have had. I mean, there was one where he basically dropped a touchdown.
Yeah,
he makes a miraculous catch there. There's 6 more points on the board, but and I'm not sure he'll get that figured out. I mean, it's a good thing the bye week is this week. It'll give these guys,
and to be honest,
time to get more of a repertoire with them.
And Alan, to be honest, I mean, the first few weeks, if I guess minus the Cardinals game because that was kind of just a terrible game on both sides, but for the most part, the first few games, the offense hasn't really did get a chance to do much because they were dominated on defense. And the offense didn't have to do much, right? They didn't have these long drives. Most of their drives were short drives or off turnovers and things like that. And so, to be honest, this is the first game or maybe even the second game where they really had to be able to use more of the plays in the offense and get a little more involved in the play calling. A little broader play calling, using more of the field and that kind of thing, because it feels like the offense didn't get going because they didn't have to do a lot those first maybe 3 or 4 games. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe take some deep shots over the middle of the field.
Right. Yeah.
Depending on what kind of coverages they're running on defense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. That could be part of it, Alan, to be honest, is that the offense hasn't got a lot of time together in real game situations, especially the first 3 or 4 games for sure. And then, the debacle in San Francisco was terrible too. So, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I think because, and people give a lot of, have given, to be honest, the Eagles a lot of excuses. Hey, it's a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, and all that. I mean, I know we don't have a new defensive coordinator, but we basically have a new offensive coordinator. And so, and then in some of their interviews, the Eagles have said, they're adjusting, they're still trying to figure it out who they are as an offense. And that's basically what the
Cowboys it didn't look it last week when they played the Jets. I mean, the Jets shut them down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. But that's been kind of their excuse on offense, because to me, Jalen hasn't looked the same. He hasn't played very well. He's struggled. He's had more interceptions, more turnovers. And I think that's been part of their excuse. And I think that's legitimately part of the Cowboys' excuse is they do have a new offensive coordinator, a new play caller. And so there are some adjustments that the offense has to make when that happens, despite having the
problem is it's Mike McCarthy, and nobody cares about Mike McCarthy. That's really all it is.
That's part of it.
I'm just saying, I don't even know who the offensive coordinator for Philadelphia is.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's an adjustment, and we haven't got enough credit for having to make those adjustments on offense.
And it's like you said, we really haven't had to, because the defense has been doing much of the heavy lifting, except for the 2 games we lost. So
right. Yeah. And then that's what happened is the offense was basically playing the same, though. Even the games we lost, they were kind of hit and miss, struggling, not really, in sync with each other for every game except maybe this game. And the games that we lost, the problem was that the defense struggled and had bad games, and that's what happened. The offense looked the same pretty much every game up until the Chargers game.
I want to bring this up because this kind of intrigued me a little bit. Do you think the defense kind of exposed Justin Herbert a little bit? I know the media likes to put him on a pedestal as like the next big quarterback in the NFL, even though Patrick Mahomes is in the same division and is tearing up NFL records like it's nothing.
I mean, yeah.
But and it's like, everybody's like, oh, Kellen Moore is there. He's got a young quarterback. This offense is going to be hard to stop. But remember, Dan Quinn knows his offense. And I was like, and we saw it Monday night. They pretty much almost knew what plays Kellen was going to run in certain spots. So,
oh yeah, and I think I said that last week before we played. You said that it's going to be Kellen Moore versus Dan Quinn. And I think Dan Quinn has been able to scheme up something better against his offense than Kellen will against Dan Quinn, and it ends up being that way for the most part. But I just felt like, Kellen's going to do the same old mistakes, on some of those short plays. He threw the ball and, where he should have maybe done a quarterback sneak on one of those would have worked. But no, he wanted to do some weird throw it outside and ended up didn't work out for them. And that's kind of who he is. He doesn't run it when he should run it, and he throws it when he shouldn't. And he just has a weird way of calling plays, even though he can get you a lot of yards, he can get you a lot of offense. He just at certain times, as far as situational football, he's not as good sometimes.
I want to highlight one guy on the defense that had a big game, had a big impact in this game. Marquise Bell. Marquise Bell with Vander Esch going out, and
has he always been on the team? I didn't even know he was on the team.
He's been on the team. He's been swapping in and out.
Injury. He's been kind of
he's in there because of Vander Esch's injury. Right. And he had a great game. He had a great game against the Chargers.
He's the big linebacker.
Yeah, he's basically a safety. He's basically the size of a safety, but he's you know what Dan Quinn loves to do with safeties like that. He'll use them as linebackers and bring them up and use them as like hybrid type players.
No, he was great.
He did that a lot with like guys like Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas back in Seattle. So,
and that's awesome. It's almost like Bland last year. When he got his shot in different spots, and they kind of put him in a nickel package, and he did well. Once he got his time to shine, and that seems to be one of those guys, kind of like Bell. He's getting his time to shine, and he's shining.
I mean,
the
biggest
right.
play,
That was great.
The biggest play he had was stopping Eckler at the 1 yard line.
Yeah, that was a great play. Yeah, because he's hard to bring down sometimes. Eckler's not. He's a strong dude. Mm-hmm. He's hard to bring down.
That was an open field tackle too.
Exactly. Yeah, I was impressed with Bell too. That's a bright spot in the defense for sure.
It's funny on our NFC show we talk about how the Cowboys usually have like one player in a primetime game who nobody knows about has a breakout game, and that was Marquise Bell Monday night.
Right. You could almost say Marquise Bell and then on defense, and then Cooks on offense. I mean, even though we know who Cooks is, he just had a breakout game finally. He finally had a game where he made some big contributions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the guy that's probably not getting as many looks as far as attention is concerned on this defense. OC's been playing very, very well this year in the middle. OC Odigizua, everybody thought, obviously with Mozzie getting drafted in the first round that he was going to get that spot. OC won the battle. He got that spot in mini camp.
Right.
And he has been probably one of the more underrated players on this defense that doesn't get a lot of recognition, but he's been making some big plays for them up the middle.
Yeah, because I feel like Gallimore kind of had that spot last year, and he got injured, and then Odigizua kind of, this year has kind of taken that spot over from him. Even though I think we kind of anticipated Gallimore might have that spot.
Well, you got OC, and then Rankins, Jonathan Rankins, who we got from Vegas last year.
Right.
He's also been a big part of the middle too. So him and
OC. Is Clark coming back? Is he back?
Clark, yeah, I think Damone Clark. I think he played Monday night.
Did he play? Okay, I thought I saw.
I think so. They were just using Bell as like the middle guy.
Right. So, but I know he'd been out because he was injured early. I think did he get injured in preseason? I can't remember, but I know he was injured.
He did get hurt a little bit, but I think he's back. So
he's back. Okay.
But yeah,
that's all. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. I'm just saying, the great game by this, and I mean Bland. We kind of mentioned him earlier.
Right.
He had a really good game on the outside. A lot better than what he has been. Almost had an interception again. It just seems like he's an interception magnet. Sometimes he's kind of like a little mini Trayvon Diggs, like from back in his rookie year. So I mean, he led the team in picks last year. He's he has a couple already this year.
Right.
But given these guys time to rest and get them fully healthy, I think it's going to do wonders for them, especially the offensive line. The offensive line being fully healthy again and being fully rested is going to do wonders for them going down the line.
Yeah, for sure. And I think maybe getting Sam Williams involved a little more as well. If he can keep himself out of trouble, but he plays. He's pretty good on that line on the left side when he comes in for D-Law. He's done pretty well. Armstrong has played, fairly well this year as well. He's had a few big plays here and there, and maybe the defense is, hopefully they're more consistent and they've adjusted to losing Diggs now. Moving forward, we'll see what happens. But I feel like we kind of lost a little bit of our pass rush once we lost Diggs.
Mm-hmm. Sam is going on every show. He's in the comments on advocating for Will Levis to be the starter for Tennessee going forward.
Yeah, I was saying, when is Levis going to go out there? I think I said earlier in the season how long.
Well, Tannehill's hurt. Well, Tannehill's hurt now, so they have to. They're on a bye week, as Sam mentioned. They're on a bye week this week, so they have to evaluate. Do they want to try to keep going with Malik Willis, who hasn't worked out, or do they want to give Will Levis the shot?
Right. What are they now? 2-4? Are they 2-4 now, or?
I was like 2-4 or 3-3. I'm not sure.
I thought they had a losing record now. They're 2-4. Yeah, 2-4. They just lost to the Ravens.
You're not wrong for that, Sam. You're not wrong for that. I'm just saying you're going on every show advocating for Will Levis to be the starter, and I commend you. I commend you for that, sir. I commend you for that. You want change at quarterback. This is your team. This is what you want.
Yeah, I agree. They should give Will Levis a chance, but at the same time, the coaches know what he can and can't do, and maybe they just don't feel comfortable with what they've seen.
Well, I mean, he was there. I think what it was is that Levis got hurt in preseason, and so he immediately ended up becoming the emergency quarterback. Willis did look okay in the preseason, but then again, you can't really judge anything based on preseason games,
right?
And it's like Sam just said, Will Levis has not been the guy. Will Levis has not been the guy for them.
Willis, Malik Willis.
Malik Willis. Not Will Levis. Malik Willis.
Yeah,
sorry,
Willis.
I don't know why I'm getting those names mixed up. This is so hard.
It's because it's Willis and Levis.
Levis and Willis.
Because I don't know.
I mean, Levis. I think for a kid coming out of the SEC, you think they give him a little bit more looks at quarterback. Just saying.
I guess he's a Kentucky guy, right? Maybe that's why.
Yeah. Came out of Kentucky. He had a lot of talent the year before,
right?
And what's kind of vaulted him a little bit. The reason why he kind of tampered off in the draft was he got hit a lot. He got hit a lot his senior year in Kentucky. Yeah. So he got banged up. At least he could take a hit, get back up, and go out there. So
yeah. Yes, for sure.
And looking at somebody. He's a physical quarterback, is what he is.
So. Yeah. And to be honest, I told you we were talking about Dak earlier, but now I look at his stat line. He's right exactly what I feel he should be doing in games for the most part. He only threw it 30 times, 272 passing, but he had 7 attempts rushing and 40 yards, and then 1 touchdown on the ground. And, of course, like you said, that 18-yard run. And so I feel that's what Dak's stat line should look like almost every week, about 30 pass attempts, give or take a couple, and about 6 to 8 rushing attempts. That's what his game should look like every week. His stat line should have those same numbers, and will have similar success.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel.
So going into the bye week this week, what are some of the areas you think that the coaching staff should be focusing on as far as going into this extra week of practice?
I feel like the run game. Figure out your run game. Figure out what you want. If you want to run it through the middle, well, then you gotta either get Pollard to realize he needs to be more patient, or tell him, get him on the same page with the offensive line. If you're going to run it through the middle and I think the run game is the key to this offense to really opening up the offense. I think that's one thing they should really work on. Figure out who's going to be that guy. If it's not Pollard, that's fine. I don't care if it's Pollard or whoever, Lupke or Rico, whoever you want to put in that spot, whoever you want to actually run through the middle, because you're going to need some of those yards, running up the middle. But you need a guy who can get you yards there, right? Maybe it's Deuce Vaughn. Maybe at some point you give him a little more time, because he hasn't had a lot of playing time. He hasn't done great when he's been in there, but he's had very limited time. So maybe he's the guy you run through the middle, get him a few plays, running up the middle, where kind of a la Emmitt Smith, where you can't really see him until he darts through you, right? And so I don't know who it is, but I think they should figure out who's going to be your bell cow, running through the middle. I don't care who they pick, as long as they get that straightened out somehow. Get him and the offensive line and the play calling on the same page. For the
Sam mentioned about Levis that he slightly pulled his quads, and Vrabel's trying to be very protected of him.
Okay.
But there has been talk, and he mentioned it. There has been talk of them doing a quarterback change after the bye week, so that might happen for them going on next week. All the players have to do is all the players have a meeting and tell McCarthy to stand there while they work.
Wow.
I was gonna say if the play calling kind of slumps here, do you think he turns it to Brian Schottenheimer to call plays? Or
I don't know. I don't think he will. I would be very surprised that he would turn that over now that he's taken it over. The only way I see that happening, if the play calling really, really, really struggles, let's say, and obviously maybe costs us a game, or it seems like it costs us a game or two, maybe Jerry Jones gets involved and say, hey, give it to Schottenheimer, because I don't think McCarthy himself would give it up. I think he would be forced. I don't think he would voluntarily give the play calling up. I think he likes that. I think he feels like that's his, I don't know. He feels more comfortable doing it. I think he feels like he's good at it. And he's not. I mean, I don't know if he's great at it, but I'm just saying I don't see him voluntarily giving that up unless Jerry Jones steps in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To me, I think one thing you mentioned the run game, and I agree with that. I think they got to also work on the pass rush a little bit. I know it got better this week. They were able to get to Justin Herbert, but they need to work on, especially Micah. They need to get Micah more involved in the defensive plays. He didn't get a sack in this game until the second to last play of the game on defense. So got to get more ways to get him involved, get some of these other guys involved.
Some stunts and stuff like that. Do something to get him in one-on-one with somebody, with one of their weaker offensive linemen, or just get him one-on-one, whether it's inside, going outside in, or just staying on the outside, but move him around a little more, like you said, and get him involved in the pass rush. Yeah, I agree that the pass rush needs to. Even though we have a lot of pressures, it just feels like when you get that sack or two, it just feels like it makes a bigger impact, especially in key times of the game.
Yeah, Sam, he was like that in Green Bay, which is why people didn't like him to begin with. But when he got to Dallas, not only did he lie about being an analytics guy, he became Jerry Jones's yes man, in which that's kind of the kind of coach that we haven't been wanting here in Dallas. We've been needing a guy that's kind of takes charge and
But Jerry Jones is not going to hire a guy like
Jerry's not going to do that. That's the problem.
Yeah, he's not going to hire a guy that takes charge. Yeah. Of course, he and Jimmy had a long conversation there at the Chargers game. I couldn't hear all.
I was going to say, are they finally going to put him in the ring?
They should. If he does a surprise thing, that would do wonders. I don't know, just for Cowboys.
Just do it when the Eagles come to town for Adam.
Yeah, do it. I mean, just do it, Jerry. It's
put him in the Ring of Honor, for Christ's sake.
Put him in the Ring of Honor and just get it over with. I mean,
I always tell people this.
A long time
I always
ago.
tell people this. Yes, Barry Switzer won a Super Bowl in '95, but those weren't his players. Those were Jimmy Johnson's players. Right. Aside from Deion Sanders, those were Jimmy Johnson's players.
Yeah. I mean, and to be fair, I mean, that was Barry Switzer's team. I mean, he turned it into his team, but they were his players. I mean, and they were running a little different offense, and
Again, and I'd always like to say, had Neil O'Donnell not have been playing pitch and catch with Larry Brown in that Super Bowl, Jerry Jones's ego wouldn't have grown 3 sizes that day.
Like the Grinch.
Yeah.
On Christmas, yeah.
Gambled and won in the 90s. Although to the point we're trying to make with
he got paid off of those 3 interceptions.
Jimmy built that team.
For sure, Jimmy built that team.
Jimmy built that team. Jerry only had little input in building that team until Jimmy left. Then Jerry started.
I mean, he did get Charles Haley there, and he did get Deion Sanders there. So.
You got Deion there. You got Charles there.
Yeah.
Jimmy was the one that pulled off that trade with the Herschel Walker trade in '89.
Yeah.
That got us like 10 Hall of Fame picks in like the next 2 drafts. Got us Emmitt Smith, got us Darren Woodson, Leon Lett, guys like that were a big part of that team.
Yep.
So, I always credit Jimmy Johnson for that. I know Jerry wants to have credit for that so bad. If there's one thing I give Jerry credit for, is for building the Cowboys as a global,
a brand,
a global brand.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're the number 1 brand in all of sports right now.
And he's done pretty well in the draft, too. In the draft, he does well most of the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He wishes he could go back to 98 and draft Randy Moss, but...
Yeah. He probably should have. That's the one time. Sometimes he should have.
That's why I was going to say that's why he got trigger happy with Dez Bryant in 2010.
Yeah, probably.
But Dez turned out to be a good kid.
Oh yeah,
though.
He was very.
We're definitely worthy of the 88 number for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, Dez Bryant was awesome in the red zone. I think didn't he hold the record for red zone touchdowns?
red zone. Yeah, some Cowboy record. Yeah, something like that.
Des Bryant. Yeah, he was great in the end zone.
Yeah,
Those 50-50 balls, he was awesome.
mm-hmm. Yeah. until his son takes the cards out of his hands, which is what he had to do that in 2016 because Jerry wanted to draft Johnny Manziel. He wanted to so bad, and Steven was like, no, absolutely not.
Well, that's the story. That's the rumor. I don't know if that's true. I don't know how true that is, though.
I mean,
I think he did want to draft him. I don't know if he actually told him no. I think they discussed it and they decided no. But Jerry's going to make whatever decision he makes, though. We think that his son has that much pull, but I think for the most part, he just got talked out of it by his son.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
And with Jerry getting older, I wouldn't be surprised if Steven starts taking a little bit more of the reins here as far as personnel and decision making.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Jerry doesn't like giving up anything, any of the shine, any of the reins, and so, yeah. I mean, I think I don't know if we discussed it on this or on our show, but we're talking about when is I think it was Canteen. He asked on our show, can the Cowboys get to a Super Bowl or win? And then, where do you see the Cowboys in the next 5 years, or when can we make a Super Bowl? And I said this year or next year, and that's it. If we don't make it this year or next year, it's not going to happen for a while because you're going to have to start paying people. You're going to have to start paying Micah and all these people that we have, and Dak's going to have to get a new contract, or you're going to have to get a new quarterback after the next couple this year, then next year. I mean, this is the time now. This is our window for the Cowboys to make a Super Bowl. This year and next year is our window, and then it starts to close it, extremely fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I literally say if they don't make it this year, they're probably done because there's a lot of guys that, like you said, they have to get paid either this year or next year. So this team could potentially fall apart. So I'm hoping they pull it together and get a run in this year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this year, and I was saying at the latest next year, but after that, things start to fall apart quickly with contracts. And are you gonna are you gonna re-sign Dak? What are you gonna do with Micah and some of these other guys? And it just starts to fall apart, after next year for sure, with contracts and stuff like that.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the team going forward.
Yeah, I'm still hopeful for this year, even though, like I said, the Diggs thing was really big. I think it really hit the team hard, and it's been an adjustment for the defense. And I'm hoping that in this off week that Dan Quinn gets that straightened out. Whatever holes are in that defense because of Diggs being gone, that he starts to be able to patch that together and figure out, how to fill those holes, with that Diggs left, and rework scheme wise the defense to be able to cover for Diggs's loss. And so I'm still hopeful for this season. I think we got enough talent on both sides of the ball to make a run. I mean, no one ever goes, rarely or almost never do you go undefeated. And most, Super Bowl, winning teams have at least 2 or 3, maybe sometimes 4 losses for the most part. And so I'm not scared of having more losses. I just hope that we look better and more consistent going forward, through the rest of the season.
Yeah, they have a good as chance as anybody right now, especially in the NFC, where things are so wide open. I mean, you talked about it earlier. The Eagles don't look like themselves. The 49ers just took their first loss. Detroit looks like world beaters. I mean, when was the last time you said that?
Exactly. But I'm saying most people have written us off. They said, "Oh, they'll make the playoffs, but they're not gonna." I don't, and I haven't gone that far.
And we've seen crazier stuff happen in postseason football. So
and that's what I'm saying. I don't think that.
Everybody's
giving the Eagles a pass for their loss and their struggles on offense. Everybody's giving the 49ers a pass for their loss. And so no one gives us a pass.
This isn't a Titan show, but we all remember that the Titans, in '99 were a wild card team, and they made that run into the Giants, in '99
with Eli, were like wild card teams.
Yeah, Steelers were the first 6 seed to ever get to a Super Bowl.
To be honest, I'll give this credit to the Eagles, and they said this before, and maybe they were just making excuses, but they say, hey, we don't want to peak right now. We want to peak at the end of the season. That's what I want with the Cowboys. I want us to, even though we're struggling now, as long as we're peaking in December into going into January, that's all I want. If we're peaking then,
I mean, especially with
4 or
that
5
schedule.
losses, I don't care.
Especially with that schedule in December, because you got at Miami, at Buffalo, Detroit at home, and then at Washington. That's your toughest stretch.
That's what I'm saying. But if we're peaking Philly there, we should win. Too. We should win 3 out of those 4 games. We should win if
we're playing at 100%. Yes,
we might even win all 4 of those if we're if the team's peaking.
I think if there's one team that I think has a chance to outplay us if they're 100%, it's Miami. Miami looks good, and in fact,
their defense isn't that great though.
Their defense isn't that great, but their offense can match up with anybody.
True, but I don't know. You get you get.
I'm gonna be honest. And I love
this spot.
And I'll be honest, and I love Johnny Cruz to death, but I'm actually picking Philadelphia this week because I think their defense can stop the run well enough, especially if Jalen Carter's healthy, especially if Jordan Davis is healthy. I think they're going to stuff the run with their defense this week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think that because of Philly's defense, but I think that the Philly offense continues to struggle. I think they continue to struggle. I think the secondary for the Miami isn't too bad, and I think I could see Jalen throwing another pick or so, maybe even get another fumble. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a shootout, but I think it'll be in the 20s, maybe in the low 20s.
What do you think of the Giants-Commanders matchup this weekend?
Well, it's a big game for the Giants. I mean, you can't lose another game. As if you're a Giants fan, you cannot lose another game. You just can't. I mean, I think Daniel Jones comes back. I mean, and they've.
Well, I mean, it has to now. They paid him all that money.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that, yeah, and they've been in, except for the Cowboys game, they've pretty much been in every game and had a chance to win those games, even when they didn't have Saquon and he was injured. They've been in every game and had a chance to win those games. Seattle, they kind of got away from him late, but for the most part, I mean, they've been.
They should have beaten Buffalo. They should have beat Buffalo.
They should have beaten Buffalo. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they've been fairly competitive in most of those games. Even the San Francisco game, they were competitive for most of that game, and it got away from them. But I don't know. I just feel like they can't afford to lose another game, and you just start. I mean, people start calling for Dayball's job, I think, if you lose. If you go 1-6.
Oh, don't worry. Carlos has already done that the moment he arrived in New York. So.
But I think Dayball's a good coach.
Carlos has been calling for them to trade all their draft picks, to fire everybody in the coaching staff, to do a complete hard reset of the entire
Last time I heard him, he sounded like Eeyore. He sounded like Eeyore, man. He was like, oh, what was it?
Oh, I mean, he
was like
he was doing that for both the Jets and the Giants. Well, now he can't do that for the Jets because the Jets actually are a decent team they just need a quarterback.
Well, I don't know. To be honest, if Zach Wilson
if they
play
run
like
the ball
he's been playing
with Breece Hall healthy,
right?
I mean, it keeps that offense afloat.
If Wilson can kind of be more of a game manager and just manage the games. The way he's done the last couple, I mean, they have a shot to win most of these games with that defense. Which you know this, Alan. That defense and that team was.
I remember Dable won Coach of the Year. Dable won Coach of the Year last year.
Right, exactly. But I'm saying the Jets, they have a sorry team until they beat. Was it the Eagles? Who they beat? I can't remember.
They beat the Eagles last week.
Yeah, the Eagles until they beat the Eagles, and now the Giants have this great defense.
I'm just saying. The Jets beat the Eagles last week.
Yeah.
I think they beat the Patriots. The Patriots are a bad team, but the Patriots are a bad team.
Right.
And they hung around with Kansas City. If it wasn't for 2 bad calls at the end of that game, they probably beat the Chiefs.
Well, even the Browns, if you look at the Browns, with the 49ers, no one said the Browns, even though statistically.
No one said the Browns were going to win that game because they didn't have Deshaun Watson.
Well, the Browns have a great defense. No one was saying that going into that game. No one was saying that. But now that they lost to them, now that all of a sudden, well, if you look at statistically, the Browns have the best defense in the NFL. And, it is what it is. They're giving them excuses. They don't give us any excuses, which is fine. We don't need them. We'll just move on without excuses.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you got the star on your helmet. You're going to get more criticized when things go wrong.
That's the nature. That's the nature of being a Dallas Cowboy. There's a lot more criticism because there's a lot more. And again, I blame Jerry Jones because there's a lot more hype built around this team than there is any other team in the NFL. So
this is true. But you blame him, and you give him credit for that. At the same time. I mean, right?
Yeah. Plenty of bad coaches have won in their first years. Yeah, I mean, Sam's right.
Who? Name one.
I mean, Dayball to be well. He's still kind of unproven. I mean, Stefanski, I guess you could say his first year that he got Cleveland to the playoffs, he hasn't been there since. He does look like they've kind of turned around a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
but they also don't have Nick Chubb. They don't have Nick Chubb for the rest of the year. So
exactly, and they've played without Deshaun for a couple games. But yeah, I don't know. You can't really say he's a bad coach yet. I don't know. I don't know if you can name any that are bad coaches and had a great first year. Plenty. I don't know if there's plenty.
Maybe Staley. I don't know.
Did he have a good first year though?
I think he had a decent first year. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back, but
maybe. I don't think
he's more likely to be. I think he's more likely to be the first coach gone. Is Staley?
Well, to be honest though, Staley was given a pretty good team. He wasn't handed a terrible team.
Yeah,
he was handed a pretty good, solid team. So I don't know.
Well, then Frank Wright in Carolina right now as well. I would say.
Okay.
Because they did. Frank Wright is one of those guys where he had a good first year with Indy. He was given a lot of the credit because he's supposedly a good offensive mind, but a lot of people forget the head coach in that team, that Super Bowl winning team for Philadelphia, was Doug Peterson, and look what he's done with Jacksonville. So,
right.
I mean, was it more Doug Peterson than it was Frank Wright?
Yeah.
Sam mentions John Gruden.
Well, also he was Frank Reich. He didn't want to get.
I mean, look at what it.
And Carson, they had a decent year. They almost made the playoffs that year.
John Gruden can kind of be, I guess, but he won a Super Bowl first year with Tampa Bay. They hadn't been back to the playoffs since. He goes back to Vegas. They get a winning season, get into the postseason. Right. They haven't been back since.
Yeah, you can't call him a bad coach. Yeah, that's it. You have to look at somebody who's really a bad coach that had a good year.
And if he didn't piss off Al Davis, he probably wins the Raiders a Super Bowl in 2002.
Maybe, yeah, okay. But that's what I'm saying. It's hard to. He says there's plenty of them, but I don't know if there's plenty. There's probably
there's a good number of them throughout
a few out there, but I don't know if there's plenty.
Yeah,
plenty's a little over the top.
I was gonna say you could probably throw Rich Kotite in there.
Rich Kotite.
I think he had like a good year his first year, and he was given a lot of promise, and the Jets did halfway decent, and then it kind of fell apart so fast, and that's when they got desperate and brought Bill Parcells back to New York.
Yeah.
And then I think Kotite was here for like a year or two before Campo took over.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but throughout history, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of it goes on.
Plenty.
There's not a lot of it goes undocumented, but because nobody in this day and age likes to look at football past 2000.
This is
especially if you're a young Patriot fan, especially.
Well, plus if you're a bad coach that had a good first year, you usually get forgotten about. So some of it maybe we just can't remember.
Most of these coaches kind of get forgotten about.
If you have a good first year and then you just stink and you really actually stink as a coach, most people forget about you. And so there may be somebody out there.
Gone are the ages of guys like Chuck Noll, Tom Landry, John Shula, where they coached for like 3 or 4 decades. Bill Belichick and whatnot.
Well, he's still here, so
Belichick's still here, but again, he's a Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame head coach who's done.
Mike Tomlin's still that guy.
Mike Tomlin's, I don't know if you would put Mike Tomlin in that category because he hasn't had a losing season in Pittsburgh yet.
But I'm saying the coaches with long tenure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Steelers have only had 3 coaches, I believe, in their lifetime, and that was like what Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyway,
come
we
on.
got off the Cowboys. I don't know. Is there something?
We got off topic here.
Is there any
Well,
other
actually, we're
Cowboy
about
topic?
to. We're actually about to end the show here because obviously
Okay.
this is the bye week. There's no game to discuss.
Right.
Next week when we're back, we'll preview the Rams game at home and talk about what our expectations are going to be for the second half of this. Well, technically second half since it's after the bye week, but going into the end of October into November.
Right.
We're about a month away from Thanksgiving almost. So
you gave me two names, Sam. You said plenty. That's 2 names. If you gave me like 20 right off the top,
there are plenty to go through.
You gave me 20 in the last 10 years, then okay.
I'm pretty sure Rich Kotite was one of them.
Did he have a good first year?
I think so. I remember him. I remember there was wherever his.
I think he had a first couple, 2 or 3 years that were pretty decent.
I think there was a year where like he had a good first impression and had a good first year with the young Jets team or something like that. And then it just kind of like it fell apart.
Yeah,
but there's plenty of them throughout history. So it just depends on what you find.
Plenty. I don't know. I still think that's over the top now. Plenty.
But yeah, Flo. I know you guys got a lot going on this weekend. Where can the people find you guys at and what you got coming up?
So you can find us at The Bottom Line Sports. We usually come on Let's Talk Sports as well on their platforms on YouTube. But The Bottom Line Sports on any platform. It's me, Canteen, Omar, and Hot Take Jake having a good time. 4 of us. We're going to have an NFL game or NFL wrap-up type show and then preview Sunday night, Monday Night Football. It's all NFL type show on Sundays, and then on Tuesdays we'll have a more of a variety show where we'll touch on baseball and some NBA and other sports, as well as kind of wrap up what happened Sunday and Monday Night Football. And so it's more of a variety show on Tuesday and then Sunday evening. So Sunday evenings, I believe at 6:35, we try to get started right after the end of the afternoon games, 6:35 Central, 7:35 Eastern. And then on Tuesdays, we're trying to go to, I think we're going to 7 p.m. If it's better, I'm in the Mountain Zone time now. This is the only city on Mountain time here in El Paso. So I'm on Mountain time, so I'm an hour behind Central. I think we're going to go 7 works for everybody Central time. It'll be 6 here. It'll be 7 Central and then 8 Eastern. So that's what we're going to do on Tuesdays, hopefully. And we'll just go from there. Find us anywhere on The Bottom Line Sports, wherever, any platform you can look up.
Mm-hmm. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Peralez30. Tuesday, we got the baseball show. It's going to be in the evening now. I believe we're going to have I'll have to get with Jonathan on this, but it'll probably be 6 in the evening, 6 or 7 in the evening Eastern time, depending on when we can do it. Because
I'm not a clown.
I'm
gonna Google it and I'll talk about it on the show, Sam.
But we'll be doing that on Tuesday. It'll probably be time to cover the World Series at that point. Although Game 7 of the NLCS will be that day if they're still going. Which Arizona's making it a game with Philadelphia now, so who knows? So we got that on Tuesday. Wednesday we've got the NFC South Roundtable and the NFC East Roundtable. I cover both of those shows. Saturday we got this show coming back next week. We'll be talking about the Rams, and then of course. We started it this morning, but our new Saturday show here on Let's Talk Sports is a college football tailgate show, which we started this morning. That'll be a regular thing going on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern. Myself, Big Mike from the Man Cave, and then Scott Coe will probably join us as well. We'll probably have a couple more people hopping on as well for this show. It's still a work in progress, but we got it off the ground today. So, shout out to Tanner for helping me get this off the ground and for making this a reality. We've been talking about doing a college football show for months now. So we finally got it off the ground today. So,
hey, Sam, did you mean Jay Gruden or John Gruden? He may mean Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden did have a a good year, I think, with the Redskins.
2012,
and then he was
with
terrible.
RG3, and then it fell apart. Yeah,
it fell apart after that. Yeah, so that's one. That is
or no, 2012 I think was Shanahan, was Mike Shanahan, and then Jay Gruden took over.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I thought now that we're talking about it, I think Matt Patricia had a decent year, didn't he?
Matt Patricia had a somewhat decent year,
and then it all fell apart.
And then it fell apart.
Yeah. So maybe, I mean, I didn't say there wasn't any. Plenty just seemed like a lot.
So there are plenty. There's still.
I mean, if you're talking about the entirety of the NFL,
most of them get forgotten.
Maybe most of them do get forgotten though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say Jeff Fisher, but that would be nonsensical. I won't say that though. He did, at the very least. Jeff Fisher made it to a Super Bowl with Tennessee. I'll give him that.
You could say maybe Pete Carroll's first tenure as an NFL coach.
First tenure, yeah, Pete Carroll with the Jets and Patriots.
Yeah, you could say that maybe. I don't know. We're just throwing it around. Minnesota, maybe Matt Zimmer with Minnesota.
Matt Zimmer with Minnesota.
Yeah, I think he had a good year with them. I don't know.
Some people, maybe
I'm trying to help him out. That there's plenty, but
I mean, you could probably say that about the cat Zach Taylor in Cincinnati too. Zach Taylor in Cincinnati.
Maybe. I don't know. Did he have a good year though? I don't know if he really had a good year.
He had a poor start. There's talks of them potentially getting fired, but then they made the Super Bowl in Joe Burrow's second year.
So that's not it. He said good first year, and then they were bad coaches. But that was his. I
mean, he said Jeff did well for like 3 years in the 2000s.
Yeah,
and one of them was a Super. There was one of those was a Super Bowl. So
yeah, there was coaches who had good.
Now, if we want to talk Jeff Fisher with the Rams, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, you could be right.
But yeah, any last words, Flo, before we end off here today?
Hey, y'all enjoy your football games. Hopefully, I'm rooting for the for the Dolphins this week to get them on a good losing streak for the Eagles, but we'll see. I think it'll be a close game.
I mean,
game,
I did pick Philly, but I am rooting for Miami. So
okay. Any upsets for this weekend? I was going to ask you. Do you have any upsets for this weekend?
If I'm looking at it, I don't know. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
Okay.
I think that Sunday night. I think Monday night. I think Minnesota could probably beat San Francisco.
That's what I was going to say.
Depending on if Debo and McCaffrey are healthy,
right?
So that could be a potential upset. But who knows? Maybe Cleveland gets another win this week.
Yeah.
So
that could be it too. Yeah.
A lot of interesting games tomorrow. A lot of interesting games.
Right. And I was thinking maybe the Patriots upset the Bills. I don't know why. I just feel like this is Josh Allen. He's just like
if Scott was on here, he'd be like, the Patriots are horrible. Flo, don't say that.
Okay, but I mean, I've said that, and people have told me I'm okay. Just
all they are is not 10 guards and Ramondre.
I feel like, but I feel like Bill Belichick knows Josh Allen pretty well. And I feel like he's going to scheme him up pretty good, and it's going to be a tight game.
Well, I mean, like you said, Josh Allen has struggled a little bit. So,
and I think he knows how to push Josh Allen's buttons as far as on defense and make him struggle. So I feel like it'll be a close game. I feel like the Bills may probably pull it out still, but I feel like it's going to be a closer game than people think.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's gonna be our show for this week. We'll be back next week to talk Cowboys Rams. But until then, have a great rest of your weekend. Love y'all. Stay safe. How about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys? Let's go.
Have a good night, guys.